Hi guys, hello, it's Beck here. How are you all? So this is a hot tip for all the seasonal threat or hay fever sufferers out there. You're going to really love this one. Hands up if this has been you. My goodness, I've spoken to so many of you the last couple of weeks. There's a lot of you that are wheezing and sneezing out there, and myself included. And I know why. I'm going to explain some information to you, and I hope it makes sense. I really hope it's useful, and hopefully it works for you too. So, this hot tip arrived from my dad of all people. Excuse me. And my dad's been using doTerra's Terrazyme supplements. A bit hard to see here. But he's been using them for the last, maybe the last 6 months or so, for some digestive related concerns. Think rising heat or discomfort in the throat and chest area. And gut dysbiosis, so lots of bloating and discomfort, and it has worked a treat. He is glued to Terrazyme, guys. He will not be without them now. So that's awesome, but that's not why I'm here. So he ran out of Terrazyme going back 2 weeks ago now, I believe he said, and he was without it for about 12 days. And during that time, his hay fever flared up in such a way that he hasn't experienced in a significant amount of time. And he was wondering why, what had changed. And it didn't occur to him until his resupply of Terrazyme arrived back on his doorstep, and he popped them straight away, and within 12 hours he said that his hay fever symptoms had completely backed off and disappeared. And he rang me and he said, "Beck, did you know Terrazyme might just be the most remarkable alternative to antihistamines ever?" I thought, no, I've never thought of that. Why have I never thought of that? My mind was blown, and then my brain cog started turning, and I thought, oh my goodness, it makes perfect sense. How have I not thought of this? And this is why. It is so simple, guys. Digestive enzymes, they break down excess histamine in the body. Histamine is what is creating those allergic symptoms in the body. It's so simple, and I've never even thought of it. So here is a little bit about how it works and how histamine works in the body. What might be helpful is that you know, Warren and I have had a bit of experience with histamine sensitivities in the past. We had to do a strict low histamine diet there for a period of time because Warren's histamine levels reached a crisis point, and they were causing a lot of allergic symptoms in his body. And so how you know if you're histamine sensitive or histamine intolerant is maybe you respond negatively to red or white wine. You get really itchy or sneezy, or your sinuses become really congested. That's me. There's only a handful of wines that I can actually tolerate without an issue. And generally they are preservative-free organic wines, and that is because they are low histamine. Okay, so that's one thing. If you might be sensitive to coffee or caffeine, or maybe processed meats, or maybe cheese give you the same symptoms. The more aged and mature a cheese is, the higher the histamine levels. The longer a meat has been sitting around once cooked, the higher the histamine levels. Maybe you are having bone broth, long cooked bone broth, and you are experiencing itchy skin or the same sinus congestion issues, you may be histamine sensitive. Some things to keep in mind there. So a low histamine diet can be really helpful, but so can digestive enzymes. So histamine sensitive people, they need help breaking down protein in the body, because the longer protein sits around in the gut, the more histamine it produces and lets off, and that only increases our histamine burden in the body. Also, those with adrenal issues, adrenal fatigue symptoms, they're more likely to produce excess histamine due to chronic inflammation in the body. So histamine is a way of the body counteracting the inflammation that's going on and trying to settle it back down. But of course, that process creates histamine related sensitivities. And also those with gut dysbiosis or digestive complaints are much more likely to experience hay fever or seasonal threats because their gut permeability is damaged and they lack the necessary enzymes to break down histamine in the body. Terrazyme come in handy for all of those things that I've just mentioned, okay? Digestive enzymes break down excess histamine in the body. It's as simple as that. And how histamine works in the body is, think of it like a glass of water, and we can keep on filling up that glass of water until it starts overflowing out the top and cascading down the edges. The same thing, the same example kind of applies to histamine, in that our body can cope with so much histamine to a certain point where it starts cascading out or overflowing, and that's when we get a histamine sensitivity or a histamine intolerance occurring, and that's why we have a full-blown crisis state in our system. We're hypersensitive, we've got a lot of allergies and issues going on with our body that need to be settled down. A low histamine diet is one way of counteracting that, and digestive enzymes will do a significant job of helping with that as well. So here's something else I want you to think about. If you are relying on antihistamine medications, they can be useful as a rescue remedy for occasional use, right? But not daily. They are so not good to use daily. Antihistamines act by blocking sites on cells that would normally act as receptors for histamine. These receptors act as entryways into the cell to allow histamine to carry out its function. And antihistamines stop histamine activity by blocking the entrance to the cells. What happens though, if this blockage, if this blocking of histamine activity continues to happen, our immune system sees this as a problem and senses that it must be producing inadequate levels of histamine. And just because of that one thing alone, because it's getting mixed messages about the amount of histamine that's in its body, it starts producing more histamine. So in the long run, if you're taking antihistamine medications, you're actually making the problem worse. You're making it much, much worse. And over long term, there is even more histamine for the enzymes to break down, and the problem of histamine intolerance becomes even worse. So a reliance on those is not a really good thing, guys. And that's why if we've got a natural alternative to seek, we're going to be looking after our bodies in such a better way. And we're also stopping the issue more at the root. Obviously, we need to address the health of our gut, we need to address the health of our adrenals, and we need to address how well our gut can absorb and digest food. There are three things that we need to focus on to reduce our sensitivity to pollen and histamine in general. And digestive enzymes will also tie into that approach beautifully. They will help a lot. So that was a bit of a ramble, I know. I hope it made sense. For me, I've got a lot of adrenal issues happening, so that is why I have been reacting more than usual to histamine or to pollen in the air, and I'm on the case. I'm doing everything that I need to reduce the burden on my adrenals and get the health back there in balance. But I'm going to be stepping up my Terrazyme. I have been a little bit slack with this recently. I've only been taking it once a day instead of my usual twice with lunch and dinner. So I'm going to go back to my usual routine there to reduce the histamine burden that is in my system, and hopefully as a result reduce any seasonal threat symptoms that are going on as well. So I hope that somebody out there goes and buys a bottle of digestive enzymes. doTerra's Terrazyme are the bee's knees. I love them. I know many people that love them as well, and I hope it helps somebody out there. Good night, guys. See you later.